Good morning and welcome to Mornings on Main Street for this Tuesday, March 7th. I'm your host, Stefanie Miller. We're off to a great start this morning and have a lot of information for you today. First off, we have our sales and leadership coach, Derek Eurales, back with us. We're talking about time management today and how the better you manage your time, the more time you might have to play with. And then we talk with the author of the children's book, Handpicked. Serina Marshall is with us, and she shares her story of adoption and how it's helping other families. And lastly, today we take you to Clarksville, Tennessee, to the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center. This is a building of history, art, children's exhibits, and so much more. We'll take you there a little bit later. But first, let's get a check of our headlines. I'm here because I'm so impressed with what's going on. Words from the U.S. Transportation Secretary, who visited Nashville International Airport recently to highlight the $7 million grant the facility received from the Biden administration's infrastructure package. Now, during the visit, it was emphasized how important airport hubs like BNA are in both the national transportation apparatus and as a workplace in the local economy. You can read more about the visit and how the money received will be used by going to mainstreetmediatn.com. So we all know Music City is incredibly rich with history, and now you have a chance to read and learn more about it. There is an insightful feature article in Main Street Nashville about the journalist who shares stories of honky-tonkers and R&B heroes who helped, like the article says, create Music City. The stories include names like Frank Howard, Charlie Daniel, Billy Cox, and Jimi Hendrix, and many more names. Read more by going to mainstreetnashville.com. Again, this is an article you want to read. And then I don't know about you, but today seems as good as any to have some rolled up ice cream. Flavors, let me share with you, include Monster Attack for one. It's a vanilla-based ice cream topped with Oreos, then with more Oreos. Cake by the pound, which is a vanilla base with cheesecake topped with graham cracker crumbs and strawberries. Oh my goodness. And it can be found at Rolled Forever. So Rolled Forever is a food truck and a Germantown store in Nashville serving rolled up ice cream. And it was started by the two good friends you see here in this picture. We'll read their story of their success by going to mainstreetmediatn.com. I cannot wait to visit their shop. Okay, let's get a check of that forecast with Justin Kulik this morning. Let's see if that sun will stay shining and get our fun fact for the day. Justin?
Hey, Stephanie. How are you today?
I am great. How have you been?
Doing well. It's a very nice weekend. Looks like it's going to be nice tomorrow as well, but here's the fun fact for you first.
Give it.
Did you know that Tennessee whiskey cannot be made anywhere else on the planet?
You know, I have to say, I feel like I've heard that, but it is always great to hear again. Tennessee whiskey is so tasty.
To be reminded, absolutely. Your weather for today is high of 65 with a mix of clouds and sunshine. As we go into the night, it'll be partly cloudy and it'll become overcast overnight, and then it'll get down to 41 as you see it right there. And that is your weather for today.
Fantastic, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one of my favorite people back with us today. We have Derek Eurales Jr., Southwestern Consulting, sales coach, leadership coach, sharing all of his knowledge with us. And today's topic is time management and how to start your best practices to best manage your time.
Oh, man. Wow. I don't know if I have enough time to share this with you.
Not enough time to talk time.
No, but we were talking earlier, I guess, off camera about how do I do it? How do I show people how to do it? And we all are dealing with time.
True.
The person that wrote that song, Time, is on our side.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Time is not on. I mean, it's a beautiful song, but it is not correct. Mm-hmm. Time is not on your side. If you waste it, I mean, you know what? I tell people all the time that I'll be happy to waste my money, but I'm not happy to waste my time. Please do not waste my time.
Okay.
How I get to time and to time management is sometimes you got to see where things went. And so one of the first things that I do when I help clients to get back to their day and to be able to get more of their time back is I have them to do a time log. I call it a time awareness log. We at Southwestern Consulting call it a time awareness log.
Okay.
And what that does is over a 21-day period, a smart person somewhere said that it takes a certain number of days to create a habit. So we have people to do their time log and tell me every half hour to an hour what you did over that last period of time. We can't know where your time is going until we know where your time has been. So we have to be able to see what you did in that time, what distractions came up, what got in the way of stuff. Because a lot of times when we are doing our daily tasks or daily things, we don't know that we get distracted. A lot of times it's the phone. It's like I'm doing something, but then I get a text and it's like, oh man, then I start thinking about that text and all of the stuff that I need to do in regards to that. And then how long does it take you to get back to your day after a distraction? It's kind of like a pit stop, if you will, or a stopover in your day. Is how long does it take you to get back on task after you've been distracted? And a lot of times it takes anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes to get back into what you were doing.
And that may not seem like a lot, but if you're distracted multiple times a day, that 10 to 15 minutes my mind adds up.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you can lose on average, people lose anywhere between 1 to 3 hours a day.
No kidding.
Alone on distractions. So when we look at the log of, like 21 days of all of the things that people have been doing to get in the way of their time, we find that, my goodness, there's a lot of things that you can gain just by eliminating those things. So how do we do that? How do we get to the point of being more intentional about our day? Last time we talked about scheduling. That's one of the main ways to get past that instance of wasting our time. If you put it on a schedule, then you don't have to worry about what am I doing today? I know what I'm doing today. Now I just have to hold to what I said that I was going to do for the day. So scheduling helps there.
How detailed is that schedule? Do you schedule in your lunch? Do you schedule in your say a coffee break, or if you have a quick 10-minute powwow with a colleague?
Yeah, if I know about it in advance, and I try to schedule my week at least a week or 2 weeks in advance. There are some things on my schedule, Stefanie, that are set already. They're set in stone. I have client calls and meetings on a monthly basis. We already know when we have those scheduled calls. I have other meetings that are set in stone, but I try to schedule the following week, the week prior. So if I have a coffee meeting with somebody, then I'll put that on my schedule. And I do try to have a static thing on my schedule for lunch and all of that stuff. And then I also have ramp up time, ramp down time, office planning time. We even have date night times that I try to put on the schedule as well, that I put there. So what gets scheduled gets done. So if it's important to you, lunch is important.
Right.
If it's important, put it on your schedule. What gets scheduled? And people are habit formers. People form habits, and then the habits form them, and the habits directly result from our schedule. So your schedule, Stefanie, is your lifeline. So if you want to save some time, get some time back, get into the habit of scheduling your week out. And then not only scheduling it, if I might just put another little thing out there.
Please.
When you schedule your schedule, find somebody that you trust that can hold you accountable to that schedule. Try sending your schedule to somebody. Say, hey, I'm going to send you my schedule this week so that you can hold me accountable to it. And you can say, hey, did you meet all of those points? Did you do this thing? Did you do that thing? And they can hold you accountable to getting those things done.
Okay. Well, you guys can't see this right now, but Mr. Derek Eurales Sr. is here in studio as well. And I'm curious to if has he always been such a manager of time? Has he always managed his time well?
Yes. Yes.
I love it. Dad's got your back.
Yeah, Dad's got my back. But the truth is, no.
How long?
Thanks, Dad. I'll pay you later.
How long did it take you to work up to this, to where you are as scheduled as you are today?
Oh, man, it takes years.
Okay.
It takes years. But a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Somebody really smart said that. So
are we going to find that in your book?
no,
Oh, okay.
somebody else smart, really smart. That's like a old, I don't know who said it. Somebody will look it up on the Google to find out who said it, but it's a very smart statement. It takes time, and time we don't have. So why not start now?
Because by starting now, you're going to get back a lot of time.
You're going to get a lot back. You're going to get a lot back, but it takes making a decision that you want to do it, that you want to be better at it.
I always love just having you on and getting some of the knowledge that you have. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. We appreciate it. Until the next time, again, you can find Derek Eurales Jr. His website will be popping up at the bottom of the screen. I'm sure you've already noticed that. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Stick with us, though. We have more on Mornings on Main Street after this.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
You really good drive. There aren't any cops around.
I didn't think there were any cops around.
I drink and drive all the time.
Sir, you've been in a serious crash. I need you to hang on, okay? Cover your hands, sir. You are right now?
Welcome back. We recently sat down with the author of a children's book called Handpicked. It's a story of adoption. Here's more from that interview with author Serina Marshall. The topic of adoption can be a challenging one if you're a parent or guardian telling a child that they've been adopted, or if there's a child asking that parent or guardian about their story. However, there are so many resources out there that are available. One, books that you can find. And there is one very special book called Handpicked. We have the author of the book, Serina Marshall, with us this morning. First off, Serina, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm very excited to talk about this.
You know, I'm excited to share this because you have a special story when it comes to adoption, and you know personally how difficult or challenging maybe that conversation you can have. So can you kind of dive in a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. I was adopted by my grandparents when I was 3 years old. And so growing up, I didn't really have a lot of resources telling me that it was okay to be adopted. I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't loved. They gave me up because there was, something that they didn't like about me. And so I actually grew up thinking that, I was an orphan because kids are cruel. And so they would tell me, oh, your parents didn't want you, so you're an orphan. And then it starts to get into your head. And as I grew up, though, my parents did a wonderful job telling me, no, it's because you are loved that we adopted you. That's why we specially handpicked you to be ours. And so that helped me put it in a different light. And so I wanted to use that for other kids who may be in foster care or looking to be adopted, to let them know there's nothing wrong with you. You are so loved. And that's why people are wanting to adopt you and take you in to make you theirs. They love you that much. They want you that much. And just letting kids know how special they are.
How did you make that decision? Okay, I want to write this book to share my experience to help others.
A lot of it came from the bullying growing up. Then my sister is a special needs teacher. And so she actually has talked to some students who they were adopted to, and they felt the same things I did. And I was like, do they really have any resources yet, that kids can understand? And so what kind of pushed me off to do it was I moved back home from Orlando in 2018 to help take care of my father, who was the one who adopted me. He had dementia. And I realized I had never actually put into words what they had done for me and how they had made me feel so loved when I felt so alone. And that's when the idea for Handpicked came, was because I wanted him to know that I loved them and what they did for me, because my mother passed in 2005. And so neither of them got to see the book come to fruition, but it was that push to let him know how I really felt about what they had done for me that made me decide to start writing the book.
Sometimes it's the illustration on the front of the page that can grab someone's attention on, kind of that look of it. How did you go with the illustration that you went with the picture?
Well, this is the book, or the cover of it. And if you notice the little red-haired girl, that's actually,
It's got to be you.
It's totally me. My illustrator, Sierra Palmer, I gave her a bunch of photos. I was like, here's me as a kid. Here's us doing these things. Do your magic. And so that's actually taken from a photo of me when I was about 7 years old, because I did used to have pigtails and everything like that. So she just took all of that and brought it to life. The mother and father in it don't look exactly like my mom and dad that adopted me, because for me, I thought that would be a little too hard for me to see, since they're both not here anymore. And so, but I took pictures of them when they were younger and things, and kind of, we morphed them into an idea. And so that's where that came from. And then actually the two butterflies on the cover, this is my dad, and then this is my mom. So they're featured on the cover as the butterflies. So that was where that whole thing came from. Is I literally just gave Sierra my life, and I said, "Here, turn me into a book." And so she did, and she was so respectful with everything. She was wanting to make sure that she was doing them justice in the story. And it was a wonderful process to get to do that. So I enjoyed it thoroughly.
What was that feeling for you when that first book that it came to you, you're able to review and look at and read through it? What was that feeling for you?
It was surreal. It was very, wow, did I actually do that? Did I actually get this put, into, but I could talk forever about my mom and dad and what they did for me, and it would still never do justice to what they did for me. But actually, holding the book in my hand and seeing it, and seeing their story, because it's their story too, brought to life, and knowing that what they did for me can help other kids to know that they are loved. And so in a way, it's like my parents are loving all these other kids, just like they did me. And they're changing lives like they did mine. So it's so beautiful. And I'm very blessed that it was able to come to fruition like I wanted it to.
Well, they did a beautiful job with you. Just meeting you for the first time last week. Again, you do have a beautiful aura and just a very kind person. What have you heard from those either parents who have adopted kids or from the kids that are adopted? What have you heard from them? What's that been like? Oh, my goodness. It has been insane. I didn't think that it would have the reach that it did. And then within the first day of it going on Amazon, it reached 2 bestseller lists and was the #1 new release. And that was all I could ever want, was that it was getting in the right hands. And as time went on, I would start to get these emails and these messages on Facebook from people who had bought the book. And they're like, "Hey, I used your book to tell my daughter that she was adopted." Wow. Or I've used this book to put in our school, and I've had kids read it and say, "Hey, I'm adopted." And so it's made this connection across all these different families and family aesthetics, which is what I wanted, because
there is no, what is normal? There is no normal family. Family is where you are loved. Family is where you're accepted. And so the fact that all these different families are coming together because of this book, there's actually a gentleman who they had adopted their daughter. She's 18 now. And for her 18th birthday, they gave her this book because she had always had trouble allowing them in. And they gave her this book for her 18th birthday. And they said their relationship has never been better because they had that hard talk about everything. And so it's opened up doors for conversations. And that's all I could ever want, was just to bring families together and to let everyone know, whether you're a parent, whether you're a child who's been adopted, or you're looking to adopt, just how special and unique it is and how it can just change so many lives. And that's all I ever wanted from the book, was that connection.
Well, you were making so much possible for so many other families. Thank you, Serina, so much for both writing the book and giving us your time. Any other books in the works from you?
Actually, yes. I have a novel that I'm working on. It's called The 412 Lounge, and I'm hoping to have that out here in the next few years. And I'm actually going to be working on some more children's books, focusing on different families and family aesthetics. Just going back to that whole, there is no one normal family. You have kids who are adopted, or interracial parents, or two moms and two dads, or kids who have been adopted overseas, or step parents. There is no normal family. What is normal? Normal is, family is where you're loved. And so I kind of want to continue that series for families through children's books.
Well, I look forward to seeing what else you do, Serina. Again, thank you so much. Her book, Handpicked by Serina Marshall. You can find it on Amazon. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Anytime. Stick with us here on Mornings on Main Street, because we have more coming up after this.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
Hi, I'm Stefanie Miller from Mornings on Main Street. Join us March 23rd at Bridgestone Arena with the Nashville Predators for Main Street Media Night. I know Devin O'Day will be here.
You know I will be, Stephanie. Plus, you can register for a Predators prize pack. They were going to call it the Hockey Hootenanny, but they changed. So it's going to have 4 tickets and food vouchers. You got to register to win.
We're looking forward to seeing all of our Main Street Sports Today fans, right, Chris?
Absolutely, we are. And we could not do this without, of course, our owner, Dave Gould, and our friends here at Smashville.
Speaking of,
where is Dave?
We will see you March 23rd for Main Street Media Night. Let's go, Prince!
Do I have the wrong night?
Welcome back. Well, if you are traveling through the Montgomery County area or live close, there is a museum that you need to put on your list of spots to visit. I'm talking about the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center in Clarksville, Tennessee. Here is more from a previous interview that I did with the executive director of the museum, Mr. Frank Lott.
35,000 square feet, 3 stories, and full of history, art, and so much culture. I am talking about the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center here in Clarksville, and I am lucky to be in here with Frank Lott, who is the executive director of this museum, and you've been with the museum for more than 3 decades now.
Well, I was involved from the early years, not as a staff member, but just as an interested citizen, a volunteer, a board member, a chairman of the board, a fundraiser, And then here I am now, 38 years later, executive director. Never dreamed it would happen, but delighted to be here.
And we're delighted to have you, for you to share the information that you're going to, because this museum is rich both in the history outside of the building and what it holds on the inside. But let's start about where this museum started many years ago in the 1800s.
1898 was the construction date, built in that year, opened as a federal post office and customs house. Customs house related to the collection of taxes and tariffs and import duties for the tobacco trade, so it stuck.
And you said that's a question you get often. What is a customs house?
Well, it is they're normally located on seaports, and they deal with the collection of import duties, exports, tariffs, etc. So the federal government put one here because we had a direct connection to the Gulf of Mexico, and we were the world's largest dark-fired tobacco market.
I bet you didn't know that, or I bet a lot of you did not know that. Now, fast forward many years, and then it turned into something else after being the post office.
It became, for 40 years, the Department of Electricity, Clarksville Department of Electricity, from 1938 to 1939 to 1983, and then the Customs House, Clarksville Montgomery County Museum, from that time to the present.
And a lot's happened here since 1984, and what you guys have put inside of this building. And the room that we're in now holds a special feature that's a permanent feature here at the museum.
Permanent exhibit that we title Becoming Clarksville, Honoring Legacies of Leadership. What were the factors that made Clarksville the city that it is today from its very beginning, early years on the Red and Cumberland Rivers? And what were the factors that allowed it to emerge as a gem of Tennessee?
And you have it set up in a particular order. Can you explain that to us?
Well, it's set up topically rather than chronologically. It's by topics. What were the factors that influenced Clarksville's growth? The military, agriculture, transportation, education, healthcare. It's topical rather than chronological. So it makes it very much more interesting, I think.
It does, and it's easy to follow for families and kids of any age that come through here. There's also a video area where you can sit back and watch
videos about, again, the topics that we talk about in here. Yeah, they're short videos, very engaging. And then we have, of course, our newly remodeled children's floor called Exploring Our Town, which is like a kids' version of this, but also very engaging for grown-ups as well.
That's fantastic, and that's something I would love for Frank, if he'd be so kind to maybe take us on a tour the next time that we're able to sit down with you.
Glad to do that.
And I have to ask you one final question, because you've been here for 38 years. You have to have a favorite spot or a favorite topic. What would it be?
In this particular exhibit?
In this particular one, yes.
Well, they're all so interesting to me, but I come from a military family, so the military portion brings back a lot of memories of my childhood growing up here in a military family. Also, I'm a big believer in the arts and culture. So those two are probably my two favorites.
I always enjoy my visits to the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center, and can't thank Mr. Lott enough for giving me his time on many occasions. If you would like to make a trip to the museum, you can do that. They're open Tuesdays through Sundays. They're closed on Mondays. And thanks so much for spending some of your morning with us here at Mornings on Main Street. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and we look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.